Here's what you missed at Glaucoma 360. Hello and welcome. I'm Carey Powers. I am here at the Glaucoma 360 New Horizons Forum in San Francisco to capture exclusive interviews and insights with leading clinicians, researchers, and innovators who are shaping the future of glaucoma care. So today I have the pleasure of welcoming two pioneers who are helping to shape glaucoma field from every angle. Dr. Jeffrey Goldberg, professor and chair of ophthalmology at the Byers Eye Institute at Stanford, whose team is at the forefront of neuroprotection, optic nerve regeneration, and groundbreaking whole eye transplantation research. And Dr. Leonard Levin, a professor of ophthalmology, neurology, and neurosurgery at McGill University, a neuro-ophthalmologist renowned for his seminal work on optic nerve injury and neuroprotective strategies. Thank you both for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So, Dr. Goldberg, let's start our discussion on the quest for neuroprotective strategies. So, as a longstanding leader in that field, what are you most excited about?
I'll tell you, it has been an amazing few years in our field, broadly speaking. I think that the discovery research is really coming through the laboratories at a remarkable pace, understanding why the neurons that connect the eye to the brain that degenerate in glaucoma, the retinal ganglion cells, why they degenerate, what are the molecular pathways, what are the molecules or drugs or genes that we could use to prevent them from dying and even promote their regrowth, regeneration, or better function. And I'm equally excited about the progress that the field is making on translating those into clinical trials. And we're even just in these last couple of years, seeing some of the first remarkable data in our human patients showing protection or even at some levels, some restoration of vision in some of these early phase clinical trials. So I feel like the field is heating up for glaucoma neuroprotection in a way that we have not experienced yet.
Dr. Levin, share your perspective on these exciting innovations in neuroprotection.
I think it's very exciting, like Jeff said. It's the fact that at the beginning, the basic science, the translation into trials, and even some early hints from trials that we actually are on the right road and we're getting close to actually reaching nirvana, reaching the target, which is a clinically effective, approved therapy that will treat glaucoma with a neuroprotective drug. I think that some of the excitement from my side is also that there are other optic nerve diseases, although glaucoma is the most common blinding, irreversibly blinding disease in the entire world. There are other optic nerve diseases like glaucoma that are also targets for neuroprotection. And some of the trials are targeting those other diseases with the idea being that they can be then translated into a glaucoma therapy. And so this is like a double whammy, a double good whammy, that we can not just do the path to glaucoma, but also do a path via another optic nerve disease and get to glaucoma that way.
A lot of hope for patients and clinicians who treat them here at Glaucoma 360. So we've seen clinical trials for neuroprotection and glaucoma face significant hurdles. So based on your collective experience, what needs to change in how we design and conduct clinical trials to give neuroprotective therapies a fair chance?
Well, I think the barrier is from the point of view of regulatory agencies like the FDA. The key thing is to kind of prove that the therapy actually works. The FDA will not approve a drug based on, a potential probabilistic, chance event. They want to have data, good data. And so a lot of the work has gone on to find the best way to run the trial, to select the patients, choose the correct measures for outcome that can lead to an approval by showing neuroprotection. And so I think the field for that has advanced tremendously. More than 2 decades ago, two trials took 4 and 5 years to study neuroprotection. It failed. Now, the estimates are we can do the same kind of trial in somewhere from 12 to 24 months, depending upon the trial design. So things have improved, and that will lead to an earlier approval for a drug that really does work.
Dr. Goldberg, what's your perspective?
I agree, and I'll tell you, Not only are we making great progress on understanding clinically meaningful endpoints that the FDA or regulatory agencies could use, for example, how patients perform on their visual field test. All of our glaucoma patients have to take these visual fields, and we know better how to select patients for these trials and measure their visual fields. Equally exciting are the advances in the technologies, other ways to measure the structure, the function, even the metabolism inside the eye, in the retina, in the retinal ganglion cell neurons that are degenerating in this disease. And those are great tools in our early phase trials for helping us understand whether a drug is getting to the back of the eye, whether the drug is working at least in the right direction on the biology of glaucoma. So I think these are also advances, technologies that are really helping push the field forward towards successful neuroprotection drug development. I'll also add, Len made a great point about the time shortening that we can do now with these advances and how we understand how to do clinical trials, down to very reasonable and therefore very affordable phase 3 style clinical trials. But on the way to that, we can also look for drugs that we now understand could be not only neuroprotective, which is to say preventing you from getting worse, but also neuroenhancing or neurorecovery. We use those words to mean taking your sick but not yet dead neurons and giving them a booster shot so they can work even better and maybe even improve patients' vision. And seeing some of the data point us in that direction from some of the early trials happening now, I think really opens up the excitement for that as a possible endpoint as well.
I like the new booster shot terminology. We're going to have to start sharing that with our marketing colleagues. Very good. So let's talk about MIGS and procedural pharmaceuticals. That's continually advancing glaucoma care. So Dr. Goldberg, what advancements are you most excited about in the realm of IG?
Yeah, interventional glaucoma has had a real rebirth or renaissance over the last few years. And as glaucoma surgeons, we're very excited about ways that we can bring opportunities to our patients. Of course, right now, focused mainly on lowering eye pressure, our current main modality of reducing that risk of progression in our glaucoma patients. There's a host of these. They have different approaches. Some are really easy and therefore accessible, really safe, and therefore very enticing for us to offer to patients. Others, some are may be more effective than others, and some of that's still being studied today. I think the other interventional zone that's going to be very exciting is the move to put drugs that lower eye pressure, which currently we give patients eye drops for, to move those inside the eye to offer, for example, injectable or implantable sustained delivery devices that could give a patient that drug for months or now years. And I think it's exciting for two reasons. One is it's certainly an unmet need for patients. It's very not only tedious, but irritating to the ocular surface to put eye drops in for many of our patients, too many of our patients. But it's also exciting because one day we're going to want to use those same devices that we're putting inside the eye to lower eye pressure. We're going to want to use those same approaches to deliver neuroprotective therapies. And so breaking that ground on the one front, I think is going to open up the neuroprotection front for us as well.
And actually, if I could follow up on that, I mentioned earlier that there are diseases that are like glaucoma, except it's not a pressure disease, it's something else. And there's been a lot of work recently on new delivery methods to get your drug, your putative neuroprotective drug, to the cells or the fibers of the cells that die, the retinal ganglion cell axons, and therefore protect them. And so any work that's being done in these other optic nerve diseases, if it's proven, will be completely translatable to glaucoma as well. And so a lot of the advances are a little bit under the scenes, under the surface of what we know about, but it's going to be very powerful for glaucoma.
Very exciting time. So we can't have a discussion on innovation without talking about AI. So tell us how artificial intelligence is helping to evolve innovation in glaucoma and helping to identify patients who might benefit the most from neuroprotective interventions. So share with me what you're seeing in that area. Dr. Levin, we'll start with you.
Sure. Well, one of the things that is very recent, but it may be extremely effective and gets back to what Jeff said about the clinically meaningful outcome measure, that we know that at least FDA has said that a certain number of points that can be shown to be protected, not all the points in a visual field, but some of them, if that's shown, they will consider it meaningful. But how do you choose which points they will be? There's all kinds of rules. And there's a lot of work using very advanced AI-based techniques, learning techniques, to identify on a given patient which are the points that should be chosen before they get the drug to see if it improves or not. And that's just one example of a kind of AI-based improvement in the ability to do the trial that will potentially really make a huge difference, because all of a sudden the trial can be even shorter or could be done with people of varying degrees of damage at the beginning of the trial.
Dr. Goldberg.
I think absolutely trial design, implementation is one of many places. AI is, truth be told, a tool that we're now able to use almost across all domains. So it's being explored for drug development. What target should we go after with a new drug development for glaucoma? How should we design molecules that will target what we're trying to hit with for glaucoma neuroprotection? How should we simplify the way we do the measurements of whether a drug is working in an early phase clinical trial, or ultimately select patients and measure them for a late phase clinical trial? So it's really becoming a tool that is in service of really everything that we do, both in glaucoma and ophthalmology drug development and device development, but, of course, as you know, across all domains in our lives now.
Absolutely. So here at Glaucoma 360, we've been talking a lot about these multi-stakeholder collaborations like CCOI and others. So how do you think those collaborations are helping to advance what we're doing in neuroprotection and accelerating progress in that area? Dr. Goldberg?
That's been really a great example of what we already enjoy in ophthalmology, which is a very collaborative, supportive community, people willing to work together, not a feeling of deep competition. We're all trying to get this work done in service of helping our patients. And the collaborative community on ophthalmic innovation, CCOI, is really, in a way, a formalization or growth from what we already enjoy as a community in that collaborative spirit. But it's allowing us to take some very granular steps. For example, CCOI is bringing together a group later this spring, to talk about endpoints. And because it's a collaborative community that it's including the academic crowd, the industry crowd, and the FDA crowd, and letting everyone come together into the same room and hash out some of the questions that Len raised about, what is the best way to offer endpoints that are meaningful but achievable in clinical trials?
Yeah.
Dr. Levin.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's even starting with the GRF, the way that the GRF has supported the development of better methods for performing clinical trials, finding arguments to choose various kinds of endpoints to support how to enroll the right kind of patients. They've done that, and they funded the kind of work that's being done at the very beginning to look at the basic science, even when somebody takes a culture and shows the effect of a drug. So GRF has been there from the beginning to the end. And that's an example, like CCOI, of a foundation that essentially brings people together, spans the whole trajectory of how we go from somebody in a laboratory finding something in a small dish and bring it all the way to somebody who might be going blind and eventually will have a drug to treat them.
Well, thank you both so much for the incredible work that you're both doing to advance glaucoma care for patients. And thank you for being here at Glaucoma 360.
Well, thank you. Absolutely. Thanks very much.
For more information on the Glaucoma Research Foundation's efforts to cure glaucoma, visit glaucoma.org.